Hey, what is up, everyone? It is Rich. All right, welcome to a tribute to Jack Kirby. This is going to be a very fun video. I pulled up, I think, some really amazing Jack Kirby images, and this is going to be a blast. So I want to introduce Jack to everyone because I know that there's actually a lot of young comic book artists that follow my channel and people that cover a huge range of knowledge about comics and all that. And so, although I don't consider myself any sort of like Jack Kirby historian, I'm going to introduce Jack as our grandfather. He's the grandfather that you might not know a lot about, but he fought in the first comic World War. And Jack broke a lot of ground for us, but he also took a lot of damage along the way, achieving what he did. But history will still say that Jack, I believe, came out on top. Maybe not financially. I don't think that he was ever fully reimbursed for his contributions personally. But the companies did make retribution to him and his family in some way. But I know that Jack had a lot of disappointments. And, we have the generation that followed him, the Todd father. We're the children of that, possibly. And, all right, let's get rolling. We're going to look at some Jack Kirby art, and this is going to be fun. I'm going into full screen mode, and enjoy, friends. Let's look at some imagery. Right. So, some of these, let's see, I can kind of, I'll try to tweak them a little bit. This is very yellow. Well, let's see if this works. That's a little better. But yeah, I pulled a lot of different stuff, and they're all pretty huge images. But Jack's work is very fun. It's very dynamic. And a very common thing that you'll hear people say about Jack's work is that when they first saw it, it didn't connect with them, or they didn't really understand it, or something like that. And then ultimately, if you move along long enough in your sort of fandom and stuff like that, at some point, Jack will make sense to you, and you'll all of a sudden go, "Bah, man, this shit is so cool. It's so dynamic. It has so many of the traits." But, if you look at it superficially, sometimes you might just see, kind of crazy faces and things like that you're not really sure. The figure drawing can look weird, but it's so good. There's a reason everyone tells you it's so good. Let's put it that way. And he's highly influential, although it translates in very subtle ways at times. In other ways, not so subtle. This is great. A lot of these are double-page spreads. It wasn't my intention when I originally went to grab this stuff, to be honest, but I was looking for the hugest files that I could find online. I just did a Yandex. I did multiple different Jack Kirby image searches, and this was what ended up coming up because they were the biggest pieces, but they're really fun. There was a few that I'd never seen, and yeah, it's just really cool. Hopefully everyone's doing well. I'm not gonna talk about Blaster Kid or comic news today. We'll just enjoy this and keep this at sort of a fun video. Oh, my phone's blowing up, yo. I'm trying to think. I think the first time that I saw Jack's work, I probably saw like old Marvel comics, like in back issues and stuff like that, but might not have really realized that it was Jack. But I think the image creators would talk about Jack Kirby a lot, and so he did a comic for Image, and just over a period of time, I started to accumulate Jack Kirby stuff, and yeah, it's like I slowly got it. I slowly thought it was cooler and cooler, and it's a question that I proposed to myself: is that what can I learn from Jack? What are elements that I could somehow incorporate into my own work? And most people have seen some of my art at this point now and realize that I don't really draw much like this. But you can there's always a takeaway if you can do it. Like I said, I've done a lot of lessons, and one of the lessons that I'm doing for a person right now is we're working on fight scenes, and he wanted to focus on Jack Kirby fight scenes. This is a really good example of it. You've got constriction and then expansion, meaning that arms out, lots of curved shapes. I've mentioned it in a few videos that there's definitely a sort of orchestration that goes on with fights. But yeah, it's a lot of like closed off things and then expanding things, and lots of curves and loops that just make your eyes sort of dance through the page. And really, nobody did it like Jack. You don't know Jack. This is cool. A lot of times too, I will say this, is some of those reprints that they do on the super glossy paper, it just does not cut it. It's interesting because I know someone was telling me that, shoot, I can't think of his name, but one of the self-publishing companies right now is starting to print on newsprint, and that's actually exciting to me because I do think that there's certain comic styles that actually look really, really good on newsprint. And the idea of actually somewhere down the road doing a book on newsprint actually sounds kind of fun. I would do my homework and I would look at old, Neil Adams stuff that was on newsprint, some of the old X-Men, whatever it is. Neil Adams Batman in particular. I think that those issues, some of the early Bernie Wrightson stuff too, man, on newsprint it just looks so much better. And you would think that you would go, well, man, on slick paper where you can really see the art, it's like. The artists had figured out this is what happens, and I can give you an example for myself. Once I see my work published over a certain pencil, like say I'm working with someone new, I think we already saw this page, and I've done a book, and I actually have the printed book in my hand, and I see how all my line work translated, or all my, like when I penciled and inked myself, you see what works and what didn't based on the paper that you use. So if you're doing a run on a book, or you're doing a series of books, you work it out. So these guys had to work on newsprint. So just like Norman Rockwell and J.C. Leyendecker, when they were working for their Saturday Evening Post, and early on they could only use really one color, I think red. They were black and white covers with grayscale, and they had red or some range of like a reddish orange that they could use. That was it. But those guys got really, really good at doing black and white covers with very, like a 3-color process or a 2-color process. And it's the same with newsprint. You figure out what looks great on newsprint, and that's going to be maybe the best that it will ever look. You would find that hard to believe, but it really is true. The way that the ink soaks into the paper, the amount of detail that you're throwing down. These guys, they're great artists, and their minds work in amazing ways, and they figure this shit out. And then you reprint it on some slick, glossy paper, thinking you're doing the right thing, which in some ways you are, but it won't look as good, I think in a lot of ways the Todd McFarlane Amazing Spider-Man stuff looks better on newsprint. It's fun to see it slick, and where, sometimes newsprint can get a little out of control and it gets a little muddy and dirty and it almost looks like carbon paper. But yeah, it's a really interesting thing. This is great. So it's interesting. Jim Rugg right now is doing a book with like very neon, almost blacklight colors. And even though my blacklight posters have no color, one of the things that I was going for in those the black drawing pieces was a black light glowing feel to the imagery that I created. But I was telling my friend James that I actually did have a very kind of Kirby influenced comic book idea that I was working on about 2 years ago. That was going to be kind of like that, like super, super bright, saturated, crazy colors, which is not what Blaster Kid is, to be clear, but at some point I will do it, and who knows, maybe newsprint will be where it goes. But yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, Kirby really got it. This is very, very cool, but this is on that nicer paper, and this doesn't look bad. I mean, but it's they can sometimes, it's just weird. Rock. What does that say? Gargora. The monstrous she-beast. Oh man, look at that. Dude, that is so cool. Alright, let's see if we can get this a little bit wider. Damn. But yeah, this is like what the brand new newsprint looked like, and maybe a little bit more saturation. Oh, we could even go like this. Watch this a little bit. The blacks, a little more black. Man, that's so crazy. That's like so wild looking. What is going on? We've got like some sort of furry reptile beast with a big head that looks like he's from Sid and Marty Krofft show. And then this guy. What has he got on his head? An umbrella? What is that? This. It's all so wild and fun. Look at this guy. This is like a wolf man. You can't make this stuff up, friends. Only Jack Kirby could. Look at these guys. Damn. That is so crazy. I love how big his shapes are. And everybody's squatting. I had mentioned that Arthur Adams does that. If you really look at a lot of like Arthur Adams pieces, it's very, very rare. Although Art's done such a big body of work, he will have characters standing upright. But most of like a lot of the pieces that I had been looking at recently, he'd always have the people were always in just a little tiny bit of a squat, even if it was very subtle. It's a nice touch, you know. Stuff that's straight up and down or a little too like standing, it can, you know, feel a little predictable. I guess I had it twice. Look at that. That is so cool. Wow. Someone asked me a day or two ago if there was such a thing as like a Jack Kirby Crackle brush, like a digital brush. This would be very, very easy to create a Kirby Crackle brush. All you need to do is just go on YouTube and look for anyone that does a tutorial on how to create a custom brush in either Clip Studio or Photoshop, whichever you prefer. And I mean, you could literally make one so fast. It would be very simple. I would make like 3 or 4 personally. I would have one that's maybe smaller and tighter, you know, more Kirby Crackles, one that's a little bigger, and then maybe one that's like 3 or 4 larger ones. But yeah, it would be very simple. It's a very easy custom brush to make, in my opinion. But you know, you could also, I'm sure I know for a fact that somewhere out there someone had made one because I had heard something about it, but I didn't check it out. I like, if I'm going to use a custom brush and do anything digital, which isn't really how I'm working right now anyway, I would just create my own brush. Even if I saw a brush that I liked, I would rather have one that I made myself. Because I'm stubborn and an asshole. No. It's like, you have to put your stamp on shit. It's just, what is the point? What is the point of using the same stuff that everyone else uses? And most custom brushes, anyway, you could adjust anyway, so you can kind of bury it in the mix. And I get for time, saving time, you know, sometimes. But, yeah, people want to see your work. They don't want to see, you know, they don't want to see, like, a watered down version of something else. Oh man, I'm gonna do a video on Alan Davis. I had to reference some Alan Davis for a small job that I'm doing for a friend of mine. And it was really interesting. I can't talk about what the job is specifically, but basically yesterday I had to do 36, was it 36? 9, 27, 36 headshots in different styles. And so one of them was leaning towards like an Alan Davis type delivery. He's so fucking good. I forget him. He's definitely someone that people that know his work. Finch mentions him a lot. Funny enough, it was the first thing I thought of. I was like, David will talk about Alan Davis a lot. So good for David that he's giving that guy some props now, because he's great. But I was looking at the Killraven stuff that he did, which I had never seen. It is so freaking good. So at some point, I'm going to do like an Alan Davis video, because he deserves it. He's a terrific artist. I don't use terrific very often. I'm trying not to curse and be respectful. But yeah, he's really, really good. I was like, damn, I could learn a lot from this. What's great about Alan Davis is his stuff is very clean. He really understands how to draw, and then he also uses somewhat dramatic comic book lighting, so it's nice because you can kind of see what he's doing easier than someone that would like render a lot. He does put in rendering, but yeah, this is great. It's funny because this has almost like a Star Wars feel to me, like some of the later Star Wars movies where the pod racers or whatever they were. And this has got a little bit of a Star Wars vibe. I mean, George Lucas, they grew up on this stuff. Steven Spielberg, they're comic fans, both of them, in fact. This is great. What is it, kitty? You're upset? Timmy fell down the well? What's going on? Can you get up? Here, I'll move this for you. There you go. Good thing you can jump, right? Alright, I gotta do my video though, cat. Leave me alone. Yes, this is nice. Well, let's see. We're almost at the end of the month. At the end of the month, I'm ordering 2 things to improve my YouTube videos. So, and I'm gonna start live streaming. That didn't work. I'm gonna start live streaming probably in the next like 2 weeks. So you can look forward to that. We're gonna do that Blaster Kid magazine. I'm gonna show the fan art that's been coming in. We'll talk about the book. I want to get everyone's feedback on things, and it'll be really fun. So I'll at least be live streaming, I would say, twice a week. Here's a shot of Jack drawing. I wish that, like, if I knew Jack's work better, I could probably figure out what this page is, but I'm not an expert on Jack to that level. But for some artists that I'm a fan of, I could definitely, by this, figure it out. But oh, well, you can see it right there. Oh, you know what? And there's another picture. Watch, you know what? I've got another photo open of this piece. So this was, they must have gone and shot a few photos of Jack this day, because I do recognize it now. I take it back. I'm better at this than I thought. I'm not a complete dumbass. This is some of the blacklight stuff that I like. As a kid, it was weird. I used to go to this head shop that was maybe like 20 minutes from my house. And it was always really fun to go in there because, one, it smelled like incense, and they had all these bongs and stuff that you're like, when you're 15 or 16, you're like, wow, this is crazy. But they had a huge poster selection there, and my favorite section was the black light section, although I did love all the band posters too. But yeah, they had one area that had a black light over it, and you could flip through all the black light posters, and they were on that crushed red velvet, or not red velvet, I'm sorry, black velvet. Shit was cool. So that stayed with me. I always loved that. So if I do a crowdfunded book that looks like this and has neon colors, one of the tiers will probably be a black light poster. I would fucking love that on the velvet. It's funny, I had talked to my friend about it. He owns a print shop, and I was like, could we do that? And he was like, yeah, I can't do it, but I know where you could get it done. It's really cool. Because I want with the velvet. I want the velvet on it. Or whatever it is. Felt. That's really cool. Look at that. That is a nice spread. Damn. I'm sitting back and I'm just kind of soaking it all in. That is so wild. Like I said, there's a lot to learn from this guy, but it's just, how do you apply it to your work? Very few people draw like this, so big and chunky, and it's so stylized that you really, really have to like sift through the layers and just understand what connects to you with it. Is it the abstract nature of it? Is it the big shapes? Is it the way that all the different shapes sort of work together? You know, there's an abstract quality to it. And in a way, some of this actually reminds me, this area right here with this profile head, and this looks a little bit like Frank Miller, some of the 300 work. I mean, it's that content leans towards that too, but Frank Miller is a very, very big influence on me. He was a guy that I always, like, in the back of my mind, I went like, what would happen if you actually tried to draw like this? Like, not copy Frank, but boil my stuff down to that extent where it was more, like you really, really were doing a style and not just drawing people with the lighting that Frank uses, but went into it, you know, going like, I'm going to have, like my characters are going to be like these cartoony shapes, you know, almost like how you would design a Disney film where you go like, the heads of the guys are going to be big and they're going to have this shape for this character kind of thing. So I never really went that route, but I still, to this day, think that Frank, just seeing his work and Mignola's work in particular, really, really had a big impact on me, but I just don't draw that way, you know, so... I think that that's good, though. That's even better. If you've got an influence that you love, but you draw nothing like it, sometimes those are the best influences. I saw something yesterday. It was an interview with Joe Bonamassa was interviewing someone, and they were talking about the greatest influences that you have are the ones that come out in your stuff and you didn't even know it was there, or just things that like emerge from your work that maybe you're not even really channeling this other person, but it just harkens back to it. It's a fun discovery process, even for you. This is really cool. It's a crazy how much art Jack produced. This was an interesting piece. It kept coming up every time I would go through the images. It would always circle back to this. Oh, I was going to say is this guy's outfit reminded me of it. Killraven's costume is like the funniest thing ever. I was seriously tempted to tweet it. It looks like there was a Sean Connery movie where he almost looks like he's wearing one of those women's like micro thong, I don't even know what you call it, bikinis, but it's like, it was so funny, the outfit. And then he's got little gloves on. And I'm thinking like, so you're completely nude and yet for some reason you wear gloves just to protect your hands, I guess. If you're gonna fight nearly naked and like in a almost like a thong, like wear the gloves. It's really funny. Oh man, this is cool. But I love the book. I like the art so much. I was actually reading the comic, and that's rare for me. Usually, I only look at the art and won't read them as often. This is really cool. It's funny because so this is weird too. Is this actually reminds me a little bit of Barry Windsor Smith, and Barry was a huge Kirby fan, but this in particular right here, it's like I mean I don't know what year Jack did this particular piece, but yeah, it's funny, but I was getting heavy like Barry Windsor Smith vibes off of this. But it's not drawn anything like him. It's something under the surface. It's the colors to some extent. It's more how this is drawn. How this is drawn and how this is colored. This kind of greenish yellow wall is really, really giving me the like, he did some watercolor Conan covers that sort of have that vibe. But yeah, I mean, that's a great example is look at where Barry Windsor Smith went with his work and how, if you look at his early work, he was heavily, heavily doing Jack Kirby, and he evolved into this completely different thing, but yet subliminally and under all these layers of detail and experience and drawings that he did on his own, that little spark is there. The DNA from who? Grandpa Jack. Grandpa Jack's DNA is in all of us. Love your grandpa. That's cool. When I see these characters like this just so reminds me of what Marvel Comics is about. The Silver Age stuff feels almost like a little different, but for some reason the 70s and early 80s Marvel just really feels like some of the, like for me, some of the funnest Marvel comics. I think it's difficult because like the 12 centers, you're either buying beaters or they're going to be very, very expensive. We already looked at this page. But yeah, so I don't think I saw as much of it. This is crazy. I keep wanting to turn this page sideways, but this is the way that it reads, I think. Yeah, it really, I just feel like I need to look at it like this. But look at that. Epilepsy warning coming, friends. That is so wild. 1978. That's so crazy. Look at that. I think where I looked at this one too. When I shoot the videos, I lose track of what we've seen because you have to understand I already went through all these images pulling them, so it's like I've seen everything already anyway. This is cool. Yep, a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Grandpa Jack. There he is. This might be the end. I don't know. Let me see. No, we got a few more. I thought this was pretty cool. I'm almost thinking that this probably was originally more saturated. Maybe like this. It's crazy stuff. He really had a wild imagination. It's like he's almost like Picasso in a way or something. There he is, and there's the piece. I don't know, maybe that's not the same piece. I don't think I left the photo up and to cross-reference it, but I thought I was seeing this on it. And there's Grandpa Jack. Look, he's got a Harvey Award on the wall. ACBA Shazam Award. That's cool. It's nice. That's really cool too. Man. Yeah, this is just so classic. It really looks good. And so, a legend lived again. I say again because it sounds more fancy. So these look like they're hand painted by Jack. Like this is definitely not like color seps or plates of color and stuff like that. These are definitely pieces that he went in with some sort of paint and did it. Oh yeah, this is like the football stuff. I don't remember what the circumstances was of this, but I think he created like sort of futuristic versions of maybe football teams, something like that. Okay, I guess that's it. All right, have a great day. I got to get to work. Patreon, I'm going to be posting up a thing for you guys where we'll do a question and answer tomorrow. So we'll end the month with that, and I'll do an hour video for that. And then I'll be back for YouTube regular Sunday with Super Fun Sunday. But I'm going to take a break tomorrow. I need to work. I need to get Blaster Kid. My time is starting to feel more and more fractal, and I have to be on a schedule for drawing. So, all right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great day. Happy birthday, Jack. We love you, miss you, and rest in peace.